Hey everyone, this is Pastor Jamie, and we have Pastor Chris with us. You want to say hey?
Sure. Hey.
Hi. So we're going to be talking about the importance of serving alongside your kids. So I feel like Pastor Chris is such a great example of someone who serves alongside his kids. Do you want to share about that, Chris?
It started me as a kid. My dad was involved in the church a lot, and so was my mother. So we were always there, and we just, instead of being bored, we did what they did. So I learned how to set up banquet rooms and classrooms and all that stuff way before I did much of anything else. That's what we did. But growing up and then having kids of my own, they kind of did the same thing. We were very involved. I was involved in both youth and children's ministry at the time, kind of going back and forth. And yeah, we had our first child, and it was great. We were still doing youth, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, we can't chase this 2-year-old around while being with teenagers. But you figure things out when they're little, but then they get older. I mean, it's just like being at home. You don't make their bed forever. You teach them how to do it. So it was one of those things to where they were with us, and they saw us serving. And sometimes you have to make kids do things, and other times you don't. And then it's that moment when you aren't serving and they get bored.
Yeah. Yeah, your kids, I mean, it's funny, I'll see them around church, and I'll see Riley, he'll be sitting down, and as soon as I ask him to do something, he's on it. He just jumps up, he's like, yeah, how can I help you? And I feel like all of your kids are just so ready to serve. It's a lot of the times it's just asking. And so it's just really cool to just see that amongst our staff, amongst church members, seeing their kids just getting involved in ministry, and how excited I see their kids and their youth just ready to serve and take action. I was actually just listening to a video about the contribution versus consumption in regards to serving. Teaching that first and foremost, serving is teaching that kids that life isn't all about them. There's a perspective that they're getting of God's perspective of helping those in need, and also taking ownership of the church. And I definitely see that in our youth, seeing, I have a responsibility here. As simple as Connect cards getting put in baskets underneath chairs. If we didn't have those Connect cards, we wouldn't be connecting with people as we do. And so if that wasn't getting done, that small job is really big in the long run. And, it's simple things like that we're seeing our youth doing is really impactful. But it also puts them in the front lines of seeing God move in different people's lives. I feel like, we ask this question to ourselves, how can we have them experience God? How can we put kids in situations where, is that worship or, and all those are great things, but actually giving them responsibility of going, this great commission that God's asked us into is called of our youth too. 1 Timothy 4:12 says, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech and conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity, that they're also expected for those things, and that we need to look at our youth and our kids as that and being called into that ministry. I don't know if you had thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's one of those things to where they are contributing. They're not just sitting on the sidelines watching. And that is, I know in our church at Bridge, it's been that way for a long time. The youth leaders, the children's leaders, they always try to get someone involved. If you go over to children's church in Waukesha on both Ocon, and you look at the amount of leaders there, there'll probably be more teenagers, especially in Waukesha, helping out than there are adults. And they learn this through parents, guardians, teachers. I know Royal Rangers and girls' ministries are great with teaching leadership. And that's not like just our family. There are other families, like I can name Zabels, Liebelhaus, a lot of other families that are involved in the church as a family.
Mm-hmm.
They're being shown it from their leaders, and not just leaders, but the parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that importance of going, youth pastors, and, youth leaders can demonstrate those serving in ministry and set an example, but it starts in the home. And, kids are going to emulate what they see at home. And it's exciting. I have students who, when their parents show up and serve with them, I don't know, there seems to be just more of a confidence in their serving alongside. And it's cool to see parents see spiritual gifts revealed of their students and their passions for ministry. We have a couple different students who want to go into youth ministry, into college. And that's because of parents and people around them giving them that confidence to have responsibility in ministry. And super, super cool to see.
Yeah, I think finding finding what the kids are into. Like, there's certain kids you're not going to put up front in front of everybody. You're not going to set them up, okay, here, you do the intro. When they're terrified of being in front, there's so many things to do in the church. Like you said, from greeting cards to, for example, Asher Hallquist being a greeter and door opener on Wednesday nights. Huge, huge thing. Seeing a young man like that serving. You might think it's just opening a door, but to him and his handshake, his smile might keep someone coming back Wednesday nights to know that even the youth want to be there.
Yeah.
And not just be there, but they're a part of it. And that's so key. I mean, a lot of times you see that in anything. There are the spectators and the fans and all that kind of thing. But when it comes down to, that was great. We did this. All right, it's time to clean up. Who's still there? The fans leave. The people who were there just to watch. But then the people who stick around to clean up the aftermath of anything that's been done, that's when certain conversations come up. That's when they have extra time with someone who's maybe sticking around. There's so many different opportunities that come into play when you're involved versus watching.
Yeah, and just going into that involved, so going back to that idea of contribution versus consumption, and there are studies that show students are way more likely to remain in the church after high school if they're involved in serving. Serving is fun. It gives your child and your youth the opportunity to reveal their passions, like I was saying before, this is the Next Gen podcast is what this is called. And we're preparing the next generation by giving them those skills of serving in the church, that these are the people that are coming up and are going to be the ones who are on the worship teams, who are going to be helping with tear down and set up, who are going to be leading our future youth and our future congregation and members. And, preparing them is by giving them responsibility in serving. A lot of the times I feel like we can see, this job might be a little too big. It's way better to see now what that responsibility is going to look like, so they kind of know what it is that is being asked of them in serving situations. So, serving is fun. It's a great opportunity to hang out with your kids. It doesn't have to be something that they don't understand, whether that's slides, like they want to be in the back or in the front, and they can you can see how they grow and mature on stage. So it's just really cool. Yeah,
and just to back all this up with some more scripture, Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go, even when he's old, he will not depart from it. And for so long, I thought that would mean they would never leave. But that's not always true. They may go off and, I want to do this now, or I want to try this, or maybe they get into a wrong crowd later, but they will always come back. I've seen that through being here for a very long time. People coming back, kids coming back. We recently just had a video testimony, Nick Orth. I remember him as a kid here at our church. He found his way back. So there are so many other names and people that I would think if they had even more
Mm-hmm.
of an experience here through, serving,
Mm-hmm.
that would tie them in so much more to where they wouldn't want to stray.
Mm-hmm.
That thing that they had, they thought they needed something else. They come back to what they know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it goes into their regular lives too,
Mm-hmm.
work, jobs, um, so many other things.
Yeah. What would be one story for for yourself and your family like that you go, wow, this is a really cool seeing, my son or daughter just serving and worshiping God in this way?
Yeah, it's not just mine. This is actually a combination of two families. And it just recently, um, one of my sons, he really likes to be behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously,
Mm-hmm.
he was doing tech for me for a long time for Children's Church in Ocon,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't do it just because no one else would. He wanted to help, but he didn't want to do anything else I had for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
He knows what he's passionate for.
yeah, you can push the slides
Yeah.
and give me the songs. He's like,
Yeah.
I can do. I just stay back here, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So in doing that, he's been good. Now he does the setup, teardown. He
Mm-hmm.
sets up the tech, and don't touch his cords, that kind of thing. But in doing that, if we're gone as a family, he's gone too.
Yeah.
So I'm now having him train up another, actually, helper in our youth,
Mm-hmm.
Easton Samlin's
Yeah.
coming in on this.
Yeah.
And he will then be serving with his father
Yeah. That's
at
awesome.
the same time. So not only he's training someone else,
Mm-hmm.
but he is doing that because he found something else he likes to do. He's
Yeah.
kind of like our preschool bouncer.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the kids to settle down.
Mm-hmm.
He gets them to, rein it in when needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this at the Derby car race because one of them came up to him and noticed him. It was just like that connection he had between this preschooler.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool to see that. And I asked him, like, you don't have to go do this if you don't want to. And he's like, oh, no, I had fun. Like, comes, when you hear a story from your kid without asking for it,
Mm-hmm.
that is the moment that they've connected and they want to tell you about it. So that, I think, I've got other stories, but that was like recent in the last couple of weeks.
I haven't seen that in him. Oh,
Yeah,
quite a bit.
I would have
really
never have guessed him.
never
And that is
guessed
an
it, yeah.
upfront position, whether you know it or not. You're
Yeah.
upfront, face to face with these little preschoolers that will soon become elementary, that will
Mhm.
soon become junior high and the high school students,
Mhm.
and soon the board members and preachers of the churches that we are in now.
Mhm.
So it seems like not much now, but to keep that connection,
Mhm.
and then when he's an adult and this kid is in high school,
Mhm.
there's just something about that sticks with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good stuff.
No, that's so awesome. Again, your kids, just seeing them serve, just even like alongside me and helping me with things around the church, it makes me so excited to be at church. Like I just will sit in that moment and go, wow, like, Chloe, thank you so much for just being so ready to help me clean up garbage, or no job has ever been too small or too big for them when asked. And so that's because you've been emulating that to them. So great job. It's awesome.
And one last thing about that, parents, if you see your kids doing good stuff and you hear good stuff about, oh, they cleaned up this and they did this, don't belittle them and be like, oh, but I wish they'd do that at home, because I've done that. But don't we really want them to be doing better outside of the house than they do at home, because they're so comfortable with us?
Yeah.
And to have them taking the trash out for a church event or helping someone else carry something in when they won't help you carry in the groceries that they will then be consuming. I'd rather have them help a stranger.
Yeah.
But they're obviously learning it from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So just because they're not doing it right in front of you, doing it for a third party is so much better.
Mm-hmm. I've talked with a couple parents and shared, hey, this is awesome. That your kid's doing this and is excited, and I really see how God's moving. And those have been really awesome conversations with parents who just seeing their heart for an excitement for their kids and knowing, wow, like, I was a little worried because, the attitude at home or, oh, we've been struggling with this, but hearing that is such an encouragement. So if you see parents too, if you see other parents' kids serving, compliment them, because what you're feeling, another parent is feeling for sure. Yep. But all this just to say, be excited to serve with your kids, just be excited, because it is an exciting thing, getting to see your kids grow in a different area and outside of the home. You can't experience something like that anywhere else. So, well, we are so thankful for you guys joining us today. And we hope to talk to you soon.